Today with Ryan Shimabuku, who's based out of Maui. He's a makeup artist and a hairstylist. And welcome to Creative Beauty Magazine, Ryan. We're really excited to have you here today. I'm really excited to have you here today. I've been wanting to work with you for a while. You do some amazing images, amazing makeup work and hair work. So I'm super excited to work with you and do some editorial beauty photography today. So today what we're doing is we're going to be shooting a concept that Ryan and I kind of teamed up on, and we called it like kind of a wet look. So
yeah.
Can you describe what were your thoughts when you were thinking how can I take that concept and turn it into maybe something we could use?
Well, the first thing that I thought of when I was presented with the theme wet or liquid was not to go to the beach, because as fun as the beach is, and they're beautiful here, everyone shoots at the beach all the time, so I wanted to take it a little bit different. And for me, in my line of work, I'm always trying to work against water with making things last for weddings or pageants or stage shows. So for today, I wanted to take a look at how I can work with water and or liquid and make it flow with my work, or even embrace the fact that it'll break down at some point because of the liquid I'm working with or the elements that I'm working with.
So rather than trying to keep everything on and keep it nice and tight, now it's kind of a let loose moment where we can play around and just let it go crazy. And we came up with you came up with 3 concepts that you were feeling like you wanted to try today. Can you kind of explain a little bit about what each of them are?
Yeah, tying in liquid with beauty, I wanted to do some really clean, fresh skin, playing around with different textures, and incorporating wet hair into that look. The second look I wanted to do was kind of based off watercolors. In my mind, I'm thinking if when you take your makeup off, everything starts breaking down, and how I can incorporate that element with the work that I've done and make something beautiful. So watercolors seem to be a really good balance in between those two. And then my third look I wanted to do was kind of like a melting look. Because it's so hot and humid here in Hawaii, everything starts breaking down pretty quick. So I thought it would be fun to take a melting concept and working with it instead of trying to work against it.
So when did you start getting interested in makeup, and why? Why did you start getting interested in it? What did you like about it?
I was always interested in the beauty industry. I didn't think makeup would be my thing. I thought it would be more hair. But when I started working, makeup became what I loved the most, and I think it has to do with my background as a kid, painting and drawing and things like that. Makeup seemed like the next step into the beauty industry for me.
And when did you start doing makeup professionally?
Professionally, well, I started playing around with hair and makeup in high school. That was 17 years ago. And it's been a career over a little over 13 years, I think. And it started when I was working behind a cosmetics counter at our department store. And people would filter in and see me there. And I was really, for most of my time there, I was the only guy in the cosmetics department. So people knew who I was. Even if they didn't know my name, they knew my face or knew me as the guy at Macy's. So I got pretty good attention in advertising that way. And my career kind of took off on its own.
Awesome. So a lot of, coconut wireless type of referrals and stuff like that. A lot of your business came from people being satisfied with your work and wanting to refer their friends.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what types of makeup do you do? We talked a little bit about this offline, but...
I do, well, everyone gets married here in Hawaii. It's a beautiful place to tie the knot. I would say about 25% weddings. I'm also tied into the pageant scene, so I'm backstage at Miss Hawaii and Miss Hawaii USA every year. And I'm also doing prelims for the girls for those pageants. Actually, a few other pageants too, like Miss Maui Filipina, Miss Hawaii Filipina. I have private clients who call me for hair and makeup for events. I also do stage shows. I'm working with Brendan Love on Maui, which is Darren Lee's show. He's an Elvis tribute artist from Vegas. So I've been working with him since the beginning of our show 3.5 years ago. And my other client, Amy Hanaili Igilium, is opening her Hawaiian room back on Maui, and I'll be taking care of her for show nights then too. So I have a pretty good mix of business.
What's your favorite thing about doing makeup? What do you really love about doing makeup?
I think the transforming power that it has, and more than that, it's when you look good, you feel good, and a lot of my work is enhancing beauty rather than masking it or changing it, and especially when it comes to weddings and pageants and my private clients, you still always have to have some kind of element in yourself within the work that I do. So if I can enhance how you look, that will, and you're happy with what you see, that will make you feel better, and you'll just carry yourself in a different way, and yeah, you just feel better about yourself in general. So I think that's my favorite part of it, is that I can help my clients achieve that feeling.
So they look good and they feel great.
Yeah.
It's a happy feeling all around.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can't complain about having work like that where you get to make people feel happy, right? All right. Are there any makeup artists that inspire you, that have or do now?
Yeah, I love Pat McGrath. I love the editorial stuff she does. Matthew Anderson is a great talent as well. There's a lot of other makeup artists that that pop up on my radar now and then, but I try not to search too much, just because for me, in the more editorial stuff that I do, or more fashion stuff that I do, I like to try and come up with the concept originally, and I don't know if that's pride, wanting to be original, or if it's just, I feel like I might be cheating if I'm comparing myself or drawing too much inspiration from another, someone else's work that I did. Well, I mean, there are no any original ideas anymore anyway.
There aren't any other original ideas, but you still like to use your own creativity and flex that muscle.
Yeah,
I understand that.
I like to challenge myself in
Right.
coming up with something organic and not just changing a little bit of something that I've already seen.
Right. I think at a certain point that gets important to you. This is a question that I didn't plan out ahead of time, but how do you feel your eye is developed for not only just makeup but imagery in general over the years? Do you feel like you really it's really honed in over time, and is that something that you had a good eye for what looks good and what doesn't right away? Or
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've noticed with my eye is, well, I'm self-taught, so I bought books and practiced on friends. I would look through magazines and pore over all these images of makeup that I liked, and I knew nothing about photography, so I didn't know what Photoshop was. And now that I look back, I think I was trying to achieve in real life what Photoshop does in editing. So I think for me,
do you think that heightened your skill because you were trying to?
I think it did, because I'm pretty detail oriented, and if I like everything to be perfect, which is also a detriment. But if I'm pressed for time and I can't get all the details right, that really frustrates me. But at the same time, I think trying to achieve Photoshop in real life helped heighten my skill level with practicing and trying to figure out how I can make real life look Photoshopped, if that makes sense. And then
it absolutely does.
Yeah, and then I've also just realized that I think that the shift happening now is that perfection is impossible, and that sometimes messy is better. And I've worked with some big name makeup artists who everything's not as precise and perfect how I would want it, but I mean, it makes for a beautiful result in the end anyway. So I think just finding a balance of insanity and laziness is what I'm trying to achieve now.
Not too tightened up and not too
Yeah.
relaxed with it,
Yeah.
right?
If that makes any sense at all.
No, that absolutely makes perfect sense. I think a lot of creatives are the same way in the beauty industry. Photographers, certain people, they really want to have everything precise, like the light has to be hitting the exact spot.
Yeah.
Stylists, everything has to be, no wrinkles are allowed, period, you know. and same with makeup artists, hairstylists. On your speaking of some of the people that you've worked with, on your Instagram you have an image of Amber Rose, shot by David La Chappellle, where you were credited as the makeup artist. That's a pretty high-profile shoot.
Yeah, that was a fun shoot.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that went down, and also what I'm curious to know, and what our viewers are curious to know, I'm sure too, is what's the difference between today? It's 3 people, me, you, and a model, shooting basically in a small studio. What's the difference in process and what the production was like between that and this?
Well, I've worked with David for a few years and on multiple jobs, and he lives part-time in Maui, and while he's there he'll shoot sometimes, and his assistant called the MacCon where I was working at and needed assistance for a shoot, and I just happened to be available, so I was able to meet David and work with him on his first production, and he's called me since then to assist other makeup artists, and I was on a shoot for his new coffee table book coming out soon, I think. Actually, I think it's on display in galleries right now.
I think I saw the making of some of that.
Yeah. So I was on that shoot, and Amber Rose, who is a friend of David's, called and needed her book cover shot, and he just told her to come out to Maui because he had a full crew, wardrobe, styling, hair, makeup, and all that. And so she flew out, and she was nice enough to have me take care of her for her book cover, which is a huge deal. And I know she has her own makeup artist she works with, and the production was really fun. Anytime you work with David, it's a big production because there's sets that need to be built, models, talent, his assistants, hair, makeup, styling, wardrobe flown in from all over the place.
So David La Chappellle is pretty much one of the top, and has been for a very long time, one of the top photographers out there, right? Is there anything that you learned on set, and a set like that, working with a top photographer like that, that you can take away for other projects that you do in the future, that you've changed your practices based on things that you've learned in those environments?
I think the biggest thing that I noticed was how he doesn't settle, and I mean that in a great way, because if I have a concept that I want to shoot, I know how I want it to look, and if it's your brainchild, you need to have all the details lined up and make sure everyone is on the same page. So I feel like he doesn't settle for anything less than what he knows what it should be, and I really admire that, because I don't think a lot of people have that work ethic, and it's a rare quality to find someone that's that passionate about their job and what they want to create, and not settling for anything less. I think that's a really admirable quality that he has.
Awesome. And that's why you get to be the best of the best, right? Because you have
that's why he's done so many great things.
Yeah, exactly. What's your normal creative process for doing editorial shoots? What do you typically like to do?
Sometimes I'll come up with an idea out of the middle, just pull it from out of nowhere, and it'll pop in my head and stick with me, and I'll expand on that in my head, and try and think of how I can make it happen. Or I'll work off of a theme, like today with Liquid. I let that mull around in my brain for a little bit, and I came up with how I want to take the concept and apply it to what I'm going to do, and how to tell a story. I feel like everything that I do has to make sense, and at least in my head anyway, because if you're not telling a story, then you're really not saying anything. And so I think for me, having the whole creative process tell a complete story is what's really important.
So do you like to, like, in the back of your mind, have kind of a narrative, like there's something happening within the whole flow of the shoot that's...
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
like there's some underlying theme behind what we're doing.
Right. I'm not just having my model with wet hair,
right,
taking a beauty shot. It's how I'm incorporating water or liquid into each specific shot, and how it ties in with the makeup too.
And I like how you created a backstory for yourself too, like, well, how can I kind of relate to this in some way? And you said, well, normally what I'm trying to do is the opposite, so this will be a way for me to kind of find a way to, like, let go of that a little bit, which is cool. Like you're kind of taking it a little bit on yourself too.
Yeah, I think if you have a complete story, that helps. It helps expand on what your work will be, what you're putting out there.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree. Do you have any advice for people just starting to learn to do makeup?
I would say buy the best product you can, what you can afford, because I spent a lot of time building my kit with crap, basically, and quantity over quality. And buy the best you can afford, whatever that is, and just don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how you learn. That's definitely how I've learned. Be open to criticism. Be willing to fail, because when you fail, you'll learn and improve if you're open to it. So go into makeup with an open mind, and not take things too personally. For a lot of my clients, especially with brides, it's such a personal and special day, and you have to look like yourself and feel like yourself. And if I do the makeup and there's something a little bit off that she's not comfortable with, or not her usual routine, I'll be open to it, and I'll work together with her to make it right so she feels comfortable. Because if she doesn't feel comfortable, especially on a big day, it's not good for me, and it's not good for her. I want my clients to be happy, and I think being open to what they have to say is key.
Not having to make your own vision.
Yeah.
What you think is what it should be like. Right?
Yeah.
It's more about what makes them happy. Do you recommend different types of makeup or brands for different situations? Like, is there a certain type of a makeup that you would use today while we're shooting in studio under strobe versus a bride, or versus a pageant contestant?
Okay, well, I love MAC for skin, for foundations, concealers, things like that. I feel like they have the best color range, and I've tried a bunch of different foundations, and I still like MAC the best. As far as photography goes, I feel like it's as long as it looks good in person, it'll look good in camera, whether it's HD or film or whatever. You have to be a little more careful with HD, but I feel like if it looks good in front of you, it should translate really well in camera. And just be aware of the fine details, like texture and how you're layering the product too, because there may be slight changes in between what your naked eye will see and what the camera picks up, but I feel like if it's again, if it looks good in front of in your eyes, it'll translate really well into camera as well.
Do you feel like when you're shooting under strobe that I've noticed that sometimes color can sometimes get a little bit washed out? Mm-hmm. Do you typically add more color or anything like that when you are shooting under brighter lights, or even out in the sun or something like that?
Yeah, when shooting under studio lights or strobe, things definitely can get a little washed out. So and for stage shows too, you have to go a little bit heavier than what you would day to day. I always try and figure out what lighting will be, whether it's going to be colored gels, like with the stage shows that I work at, or if it's an outdoor photo shoot, at what time, because the sunlight will make my makeup react in a totally different way. And there may need to be slight adjustments in between times that you shoot. But again, overall, I think if it looks good in camera, it will still translate really well in different lighting situations.
Right. So is there anything photographers or others creatives can do to improve the process of working with a top makeup artist like yourself?
I love collaborating on projects, because I feel like when I collaborate with people, it pushes me outside my boundaries a little bit more. And when it comes to photography, I like photographers that don't mess with my makeup too much, whether it be turning up the temperature or altering color. Photoshop is great because it'll help smooth out any imperfections that makeup won't be able to cover. Because we can change color, but we can't really do much about texture. So Photoshop comes in really handy. But when it's done too much, or it's overly photoshopped and you look like a plate, it's not a good look, and it's obvious that it's not my work that's showing through. It's the editor. So
and it's almost in that situation. Sorry to interrupt, but it's almost kind of like it was a waste of a shoot, right? Because you can't
Yeah.
use it for anything. You don't want to show anybody, hey, look at this work, because it doesn't show the best of what you did.
Right. And
right?
I think if the colors will be on there, and you'll definitely see my makeup. But if it's so distracting, it doesn't really work for me, and I can't use the photos. So I think I think a light hand when it comes to Photoshop and editing, and doing what you need to do as a photographer, but not crossing the boundary into changing the makeup too much, because that just ruins the vision that I had and the story that I'm trying to tell. But I think if we collaborate, I've never had a huge issue with that, and I feel like with a collaboration you have to be open about what you expect to give and to receive from everybody else too.
Absolutely. One last question we got here. Okay, are there any other? Okay. You also make amazing headpieces. I know some were even featured at the Honolulu Academy of Art. I saw them; they were awesome. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, Koa and I. Koa is a designer, a fashion designer that is a friend of mine, and we've worked together for a few years. And he made this great tea leaf dress. It was a gown completely made out of tea leaves, and it was going to walk down the runway. And when it came to hair, I couldn't think of anything that would do the dress justice, so I decided to make a headpiece for it, and I came up with Ikaika helmet, mohawk, Mad Max kind of thing, and that really set it off and complemented the dress and really helped complete the entire look. So now it's become tradition where there's at least one headpiece in every runway show that we've done, and when we come up with a concept, I try and figure out what I can make, whether it be a headpiece or I made wings once, or it turned out to be wings, jewelry or whatnot. What I make really hinges off of his design and his story, and it just helps complete the entire look.
So you were telling, sorry to interrupt, but you were telling me before that the way that you guys will actually put entire looks together is, oftentimes you'll start with he's designing a dress, and then while he's designing it, you're also coming up with looks for a headpiece to collaborate, and you're coming up with hair and makeup at the same time. Yeah. So to me, like when you look at the work that you guys do together, it's really, the whole entire thing is completely collaborative, and it's from start to finish. It's a made to order look.
Yeah,
really.
Basically. Yeah. My hair and makeup, my headpieces, or whatever I'm making, always hinges off his designs. And I've had concepts for photo shoots, and he's made stuff for me, but when it comes to the bigger fashion stuff that we do, it's always based off of his design. And then I can work backwards and trying to think how I can incorporate his vision into what I'm going to do too.
Awesome. And are there any other topics that you would want to talk about or mention?
I think I'm good.
I'm ready to start quite shooting. A lot. Yeah, ready to start. We have the model waiting for us downstairs, and we wanted to finish up our interview real quick. How can people follow and reach you? Follow you and reach you?
I'm on Facebook, Ryan Shimabuku. I have my Facebook fan page, Ryan Shimabuku Makeup Artist. I'm also on Instagram at Rydashin. I'm on Twitter at Rydashin. I also have my YouTube web series that I may be starting up again. I'm not sure. That's under Rydashin as well. So if you go to my Instagram, you'll see links to everything else that I'm doing. So the best place to follow me would be on my Instagram or through my website, ryanshimabuku.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Off to the shoot.